Hi guys. So we're at the last chapters of Don Quixote. I can't believe it. So here's what's happened. Um, Poor Sancho Panza. He was in an enemy fight on the island of Barataria, and he realized he's not very smart. He's not educated, but he totally knows that governing is not his cup of tea. That's not something that he can do. So he and Don Quixote kind of got back together again. The Duke and the Duchess said, "That's great. Thank you for letting us know, and there's no harm done, and we'll treat you very well." And so now we're on to chapter 19, The Night of the White Moon. Life at the palace was not satisfying. Don Quixote kept thinking of the needy people in the world who could use his help. One day he secured permission to leave, and knight and squire took to the road again. Freedom, Sancho, is one of the greatest gifts heaven can give a person. Nothing can compare with it, not the riches deep in the earth, nor the riches deep in the sea. One's freedom and one's honor are as important as life itself. Captivity, on the contrary, is the worst evil that can fall on a person. I am telling you this, Sancho, because you saw and experienced the great life that we had at the palace. But I can now tell you that in the middle of those grand banquets, I felt hungry because I was not free. Those were not my delicacies. Happy is the person who has a piece of bread and only has to thank heaven for it. Well, master, the practical Sancho said, we should not be ungrateful to the Duke. His butler gave me this little bag with 200 gold coins in it. We're not going to find palaces all over. We may need to stay in a few inns. Don Quixote decided to head for Barcelona, a beautiful city by the sea. One morning, Don Quixote, dressed in full armor, was riding along the beach. Suddenly, a knight came toward him, also dressed in full armor, a shining moon painted on his shield. When he was within hearing distance, he intoned, "Famous Don Quixote de la Mancha, knight who has not yet been recognized in all of his worth. I am the Knight of the White Moon. No doubt you have heard of my deeds. I am here to fight with you, to test the strength of your arms, to make you confess that my lady, anyone I choose for my lady, is infinitely more beautiful than your Dulcinea. If you confess this truth immediately, you will not die at my hands. You will spare me the trouble of killing you. If we fight and I win, I only want you to abandon your armor and stop looking for adventure. I want you to go back to your hometown and live there in peace for an entire year without touching a sword, because you need to look after your estate and you need to rest. If you win, my head will be at your disposal, and my armor and horse will be yours, and my fame will be added to yours. Tell me, what is your wish? I wish to finish this business today." How arrogant, that Knight of the White Moon, Don Quixote thought, and what a ridiculous cause for a challenge. No beauty comes near my Dulcinea's. He said calmly and gravely, "Knight of the White Moon, I have not heard of you before, and I will make you vow that you have never seen Dulcinea del Toboso. You would not have made your foolish remarks if you had seen her. I accept your challenge with one exception. I do not want your fame added to mine because I don't know about your deeds. Let's get on with it then. Take the side of the field you prefer." Don Quixote prayed to God and thought of Dulcinea. He was ready. They headed towards each other. The Knight of the White Moon had a faster horse. Don Quixote felt off Rocinante without even being touched by his opponent's lance. Planting his lance on Sir Quixote's helmet, the victor said, "You are beaten, Sir Knight Don Quixote de la Mancha, and you'll die if you do not confess what we agreed upon." Don Quixote would rather die. With a deep voice, as if coming from another world, he said, "Dulcinea del Toboso is the most beautiful woman in the world, and I am the most unfortunate knight on earth. Her name and her honor are not to suffer because I am weak. Go on, sir." Hold on, sir. "Knight of the White Moon, drive the lance through. Take my life since you have taken my honor." "I shall not," said the Knight of the White Moon. "Long live the beauty of Dona Dulcinea del Toboso, lady of the brave knight Don Quixote de la Mancha. I am content with the second part of the pledge. Don Quixote shall return to his hometown for a year, or as long as I say, as agreed before the fight." "Anything not against my lady Dulcinea del Toboso I will do as a true gentleman," he replied humbly, sadly. Don Quixote was numb. Sancho, sad and confused. Was this a bad dream, a nightmare? What was going to happen? 1 whole year without taking up arms? What about Rocinante? And what about his master? Was he badly hurt? "Oh, God, please let this only be a nightmare," he prayed. Don Quixote was bedridden for a few days. He was not wounded, but he was feverish, and in his better moments one thought kept coming to his mind. Who was the Knight of the White Moon? Never heard of him. He had no idea that it was none other than his friend Samson Carrasco. The young man, the priest, and the barber had never stopped thinking of ways to make their friend go back to a normal life at home. This time they had succeeded. When Don Quixote recovered, it was time to go home. The knight wore regular clothes. His armor was put over Sancho's donkey. His faithful squire walked all the way home to La Mancha. So Samson's at it again, and this time he decided something that maybe he could actually win. So we'll find out what happens when he goes home. Chapter 20, Don Quixote's last illness. It may have been heartbreak or just fate, but Don Quixote developed a very high fever. He was in bed for 6 days. His friends, the priest, the barber, and Samson came to see him many times daily. Sancho, his good friend and faithful squire, never left him for long. They were all trying to cheer him up, but it couldn't be done. One day, they had to call the doctor. He took Don Quixote's pulse, and he told the patient to take care of his spiritual needs because his life was in danger. Don Quixote took the news quite calmly, but not so his niece, his housekeeper, and Sancho. On hearing the bad news, they sobbed for a long time. Don Quixote asked to be left alone. He slept 6 straight hours. When he woke up, he asked his niece to call his 3 best friends. He wanted to make confession, he said, and to dictate his last will and testament, but there was no need to call the friends. They walked in. Don Quixote said to them, "Rejoice, my friends, I am no longer Don Quixote de la Mancha, but Alonso Quijano. I now hate tales of knighthood, and recognizing that reading them put me in danger. My time has come. I want to make a confession. Also, bring me a scribe to write my last will and testament." The friends looked at one another. They had not expected this shocking news. All but the priest left the room, and the confession took place. Then Samson brought the scribe. Sancho, the niece, and the housekeeper could not stop sobbing. Don Quixote began. "First, it is my will that out of my estate, my niece pay the salary owed to my housekeeper for the length of her service to me, plus a little extra for a new dress. Second, it's also my will that Sancho keep from himself a little money he's holding for me, and that no one ask him to account for it. In my madness, I made him my squire, and it was instrumental in getting him to an island to govern. Now that I am sane, I would give him an entire kingdom if I could." Turning to Sancho, he said, "Forgive me, my friend, because I, being crazy, made you seem crazy too." Master, don't die," Sancho said between sobs. "Don't let yourself die. You taught me to fight for what one believes in. Fight for your life." "Sancho is right, dear friends. Listen to him," Samson said. Don Quixote paid no attention. "I was crazy before, and now I'm sane," he says. "I pray that you all forgive me. Please, scribe, let's continue with the will. It is my last will that my niece, Antonia Quijano, be the one and only heir to my estate. Should my niece, Antonia Quijano, want to marry, she is to marry a man who is not acquainted with tales of knighthood. If her love knows these books about knights and she insists on marrying him, my entire estate shall be given to charity. I hereby will name the priest and Samson Carrasco executors of my will." Don Quixote fainted. His loved ones were in a turmoil. Yet he lived for 3 more days in which he constantly said how much he hated those books that had made him crazy. He also took the last sacraments. That's something they do in the Catholic Church. The end was peaceful. Samson Carrasco wrote an epitaph for the grave. It was a poem that said in part that Don Quixote was a good man, brave to the last moment, and that he will be remembered forever in the entire world for having lived crazy and died sane. So he came to kind of a good end. He figured out things. His poor friends, though, because dying is always sad. But that's the end of our friend Don Quixote. Hope that you enjoyed it, and have a great afternoon.